flashing white on the grainy film. Although, no, it couldn't be a wolf, could it? The animal glanced at the water briefly, and then up, as if it knew exactly where the camera was. Then it too disappeared into the trees. In the club shop, hearing about the CCTV footage, Mrs. Jessup passed little Sheila the box of salt and vinegar with a typically wry comment about someone leaving the scene of the crime, and Sheila, pausing in her replenishment of Mars bars, nodded calmly, exactly as she always did when the elderly lady said something wise. It was only later that Mrs. Jessup, having learnt the truth, felt a small pang of conscience. Once I knew what the object in the water was, you know. She slid the cuttlefish through the bars to hopping Stan. It felt wrong. The budgie cocked his head as if he completely understood. In Mrs. Jessup's world, being agreed with made all things right and harmonious, but it didn't make the truth any more palatable. Ingrained indelibly on the footage, the object in the water floated into the flare of moonlight, meaning the pale thing attached to the main bulk eventually became clear. It was a hand, extended as if it was mid-stroke, a hand that would not move again of its own accord. And the object? It was a body. Which wasn't a huge surprise, Mrs. Jessup murmured darkly the following day, waiting for the police to arrive. It was only a matter of time, she said, indicating that Sheila should flip the kettle switch. No, none of it was much of a surprise, really, given recent events at the club. That one of those nasty parents from Saturday's drunken debacle should end up face down, floating in the lake, dead as a proverbial doornail, although whoever said a doornail was dead, it made very little sense. I'm sure I saw those nice girls, the Welsh one, Patty, and her American friend. Mrs. Jessup passed the mugs. Here late on Saturday. The American? Sheila plopped the tea bags in. I don't think so. And Patty took her drunken husband home. Plus everyone was in costume, weren't they? Hard to tell who was who, among all the werewolves and witches. Given the history of Tenderton Village, where all things to do with evil enchantment had become a huge draw during the past few decades, putting it firmly on the necromancy tourist map, it seemed almost apt that witchcraft might have been involved. Mrs. Jessup passed Sheila the milk. I'm sure the police know who was here and who was not. Not our business, is it, dear? Unless it gets... She paused, a snap of something discernible in her faded eyes. Out of hand.
Part 1. September. 1. Patty. Wednesday AM. New moon in Virgo. Patty Taylor was an even-tempered woman by nature, but even she was riled by the events of that Wednesday morning. Truth be told, Patty wasn't having the best of months anyway, let alone weeks or days. Only to be expected, really, given that the moon was in Virgo. Always a disaster for her, plus she'd begun to really rather hate Wednesdays, a sort of nothing day that just had to be got through, without the fuel of a fresh Monday, or the delicious excitement of a Thursday, or even better, a Saturday. Although Patty couldn't actually remember when anything exciting had last happened to her on a Saturday, or any day really, other than a takeaway from Pizza Pizzazz or the Strictly Final. Her last proper excitement had probably been a Take That concert with Linda and Hazel a few years back. They treated themselves to a triple room in Brighton's Premier Inn, and then in a desperate bid to relive their 20s, one too many sex on the beaches in a bar under the pier, before unwisely choosing to, well, get a little bit too close to the real thing. Patty drew that memory to a swift and necessary close. And of course, she sighed to herself, nothing ever happened in Tenderton. Other than last night's huge row at the Tenderton Tigers, of course, her son Ethan's Sunday League football club. It had been brewing for a while now, the tension mounting between a few of the dads, but Patty had still been deeply shocked by the vitriol unleashed. Somehow it seemed worse, because everyone, all the club parents,